Facebook's bottom line is taking a hit after months of headlines about privacy and content concerns. The company's stock sank as much as 24% in after-hours trading yesterday. That fall wiped out roughly $150 billion of its market value in less than 2 hours. The drop comes after Facebook announced its second quarter revenue missed Wall Street expectations by nearly $130 million. Facebook's user growth is also slowing down. Even so, more than 19% of the entire Earth population uses the site daily. Joining me now to discuss Facebook's stock drop and the other tech news of the day is CNET senior producer Dan Patterson. So, Dan, we know that Facebook's stock dropped because of lower earnings this quarter. Do we know how much?
Well, the stock this morning was down another 18 points off of yesterday's 23-point drop. We also know that Facebook has kind of saturated the market.
Right.
They have over 90% penetration here in the United States and in Europe. We also know that WhatsApp is growing, that Instagram is growing, but the privacy stuff just kind of lingers for the company. And this costs time, energy, and money. So costs are going up at the same time the market is saturated.
And how much of this is affected by some of the recent high-level departures that we've heard about? I mean, Alex Stamos, the chief security officer, left with a memo. I'm going to read part of it. He says, quote, Facebook needs to be willing to pick sides when there are clear moral or humanitarian issues. What is Stamos talking about here?
Well, he has been part of the drip, drip, drip of bad news that turned into a big faucet of bad news for the company. And he's talking about choosing data or choosing a stock price over choosing things that, can necessarily cause harm. And when I say cause harm, I'm not just talking about the 2016 election. We can look at the Rohingya crisis. We can look at Sri Lanka and other cases throughout the world where deaths have come because of misinformation, false news, and other forms of propaganda on the Facebook platform.
And it seems like it may no longer be a choice between stock price and humanitarian issues, because it seems as if this may be driving down the stock price now, for once.
Well, it seems as though the line will be, look, it will take time, energy, and money to fix these issues. We're willing to invest the time, energy, and money to fix these issues, and we're willing to take a beating in the stock price. I think Facebook will bounce right back, and in fact, investors are suggesting, once again, buy in the dip.
Right.
Because the Facebook stock will probably come back.
That's where the deals are to be made. But what about Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg? Does this add any fuel to the fire in terms of, some people calling for him to step down?
Well, this might, but honestly, Facebook has done quite a bit to respond to the crisis. They have instituted policies that will help us better understand advertising, better understand and limit the amount of data that's being collected about us, and really help us understand how our information is being used by third parties. So it's not as though Facebook has done nothing, and it's not as though Mr. Zuckerberg hasn't been accountable here. We might just see that accountability right now in the stock dip.
Sure. And I don't think anyone is shedding any tears for Mr. Zuckerberg. He was the 4th richest man in the world yesterday and woke up to be the 8th richest man today. I think he's still doing okay.
Yeah, they're doing fine.
All right, let's move to the other tech news of the day. President Trump is echoing reports, specifically a report from Vice, that Twitter is shadow banning certain conservative leaders. What do we know about this story?
Well, there has been an allegation put forward by a news organization that Twitter is, air quotes, shadow banning.
And what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, what shadow banning is you look and behave as though other people on a social network are interacting with you, but it's really just in kind of a quiet little box, and your content is not displayed to other users. So the way the president used the word shadow banning was kind of incorrect and not tech literate. What this news report referred to was the drop down in a search box, perhaps not displaying some members of the Republican caucus. Now, there is no data to back this up. And there are certainly plenty of bugs that have hidden in Twitter's history. And of course, there is this narrative that conservatives are marginalized on social media. To that, I would say, look, let's never chalk up to conspiracy that which we could chalk up to incompetence,
right.
to bugs, to other problems
right.
in a system. There's simply no evidence.
Right. And so how did Twitter respond? How is Twitter responding? This is an ongoing story.
It feels like Twitter has kind of read Facebook's playbook, and they continue to say, we're perpetually making improvements, and we have to do better. And of course, they do have to do better. All social networks have to do better with transparency. But in this case, look, if we have data and if we have a scientific method to analyze this, then we can say shadow banning. But right now, there's no evidence to back this up. This story seems to be more clickbait than it is news.
Right. It comes out of one report, and the research is a little problematic in that report. All right. Dan Patterson, thank you so much.